Investors anticipating President-elect Donald Trump's nomination for Treasury Secretary. The Wall Street Journal reporting financier and former Fed Governor Kevin Warsh is a frontrunner for the role. Trump has reportedly deliberated this decision behind closed doors for days. As the announcement is expected to have an impact on the market, it certainly will. Joining us now to discuss, we got Lanhee Chen, Hoover Institution Fellow. Lanhee, it's great to speak with you. Before we get into the details of the who's who here, I just want your take on the delay itself. I've heard from investors this week that it could indicate that Trump is not favorable to markets because he didn't just go with Bessent right away, but also that the delay is an indication of how much care he's putting into a decision that the market cares a lot about. Which of those two sits as the right view with you?
I think he cares deeply about how the markets will react to this very important selection. He understands both the important substantive as well as the image-related elements of the Treasury Secretary appointment. It is probably going to be the person that is going to be the most watched appointment on his economic team. So I think he understands all of that. And trying to come to a pick that checks all the boxes is what I've heard from folks who are close to the president-elect, that he's really looking for a choice that checks all the boxes. And he hasn't necessarily arrived at a conclusion on who that might be yet. So I do think that what he's trying to do is he's trying to ensure that he's got someone who's going to be on board with his economic agenda, somebody who will be a calming force to markets, but also someone who understands what they're doing. And I think that a number of the people that have been mentioned for senior possibilities in this role are all people who I think would meet those qualifications.
Well, Lanhee, talk to me a little bit more about Kevin Warsh, because you work with him, you know him quite well. You guys are colleagues at Hoover. How do you view his potential appointment and maybe what that would bring? Will that bring likely that calm that you're talking about here to the market?
Well, Kevin would be an outstanding choice for Treasury Secretary. He's someone of tremendous capacity who understands the issues. I think that's something that a lot of people maybe don't know about Kevin Warsh, is he's somebody who is so well studied on the whole scope of issues that the Treasury Secretary would need to handle. He's got respect in academic communities and policymaking communities. And he's somebody who is no stranger to the markets, somebody who understands the important impact, both substantively, as well as I noted earlier, from an image perspective. What does the Treasury Secretary need to do to be the face of the administration on economic policy issues? So if President-elect Trump were to go with Kevin Warsh, I think he would be making a fantastic pick and obviously someone who I have great regard for.
And I want to talk a bit about what you think about some of his potential policy thoughts here. Warsh has previously criticized protectionist trade policies in a piece in the Wall Street Journal in 2018, saying that they can cause economic isolationism. Do you expect him to continue to hold that view within a role in the Trump administration, given what we know from Trump himself about his view on protectionist trade policies?
I think it's important to understand, and you know, I've had to make this decision before as well, serving in senior roles in the U.S. government. You have to understand the president's the only one who's elected. The president's the only one who's got a mandate from the American people. And the president, in this case, the president-elect, has been very clear with respect to his views on the value of tariffs in the economic policy mix, the importance of tariffs to generate the right kind of economic activity here in the United States and around the world. And so I would fully expect that whoever it is that takes on that role of Treasury Secretary would need to very much be willing to execute on the president's agenda. And I think that's one of the things the president-elect is probably trying to assess right now, is which of these picks is going to be able to best not only execute upon, but be a spokesperson for these kinds of policies, because ultimately the Treasury Secretary has a very important symbolic role as well in talking about these economic policies. So I think whoever it is, whether it's Kevin or somebody else, they are going to be prepared and able to execute on the president's agenda. That includes a very aggressive view on tariffs.